set, go!
I just can't refrain. Bitterness so quaint.
Alright, so in an alternate universe where the American medical system is overburdened for some reason, the US Department of Health and Human Services, led by Richard Hugh, swiftly enact the Rhythm Doctor Initiative, a medical program utilizing a long-distance remote medical care defibrillation technique aimed to assist patients afflicted with cardiological conditions. With the program currently in its infancy, Middlesea Hospital has opted to take part in the RD initiative, the hope being that they will be able to alleviate the burden of an ever-increasing number of patients that unfortunately juxtapose the hospital's ever-decreasing number of medical staff. Under the tutelage of Dr. Ian and Dr. Page and the ever-ominous supervision of Dr. Ediga, you will be the acting intern instrumental to the success of the RD initiative and the health of your patients. Medical pressures aside, however, you still apply this complicated procedure with only one button, which sums up the current philosophy within the offices of 7th Beat Games. They are dedicated to stripping down as much of the mechanical complexity as possible to 1 or 2 buttons, and applying that complexity everywhere else. Unlike other rhythm games out there where you're visually confirming the timing and alignment of notes or beats, Rhythm Doctor plays more like the Rhythm Heaven series. Through various visual and auditory cues, you are trying to keep in time with the song being played. Where one archetype seeks to simulate being part of a band or a performance, this archetype seeks to turn you into a conductor or a metronome. Though you'll be eased in gently through familiar level concepts, you will be quickly thrown into songs and compositions that will have you apply techniques more commonly found in a music class than they are in the rhythm section of an arcade, even if you aren't aware of it. But don't let my juvenile attempts to extend the word count and make the video appear longer than it actually is fool you. The game is simple. Keep in musical time with the song and tap or slam the button when it's your cue. Easy enough, you're acting on a kinesthetic sensation and concept as old as the human evolutionary timeline. We all bop our heads to music, tap our feet in time, drum on a makeshift kit. How hard could this be?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Despite the game's deceptively elementary concept, a lot of gameplay variety is introduced as you progress through the story. Syncopation, odd time signatures, tempo adjustments, etc. are all cleverly introduced as heart conditions requiring treatment. Every new section of the game is a new location in Middlesea Hospital or in Middlesea itself, indicating the primary gameplay element you'll be dealing with. This ultimately culminates with you listening, managing, and adjusting for multiple patients' heartbeats as you attempt to alleviate all of their ailments. As with all rhythm games, though it is difficult, it is immensely satisfying once you succeed. With every heart you soothe, another shot of dopamine is released into your brain.
Ready, get, set, go!
Yes! I've been trying to get that fucking part forever! There is something deeply gratifying whenever you full combo a song in any rhythm game, but there is an added ethereal quality to it in Rhythm Doctor because you're not operating by the same rule set. You're relying primarily on your own internal clock as opposed to your reactivity to visual stimuli.
S+.
Cool combo!
But even if you aren't primarily reliant on said stimuli, the game spares no expense at presenting you with fantastic visuals, the constructions of which are meticulous and dazzling. But this is kind of an issue in and of itself. Like I said before, every other rhythm game I can think of operates on you visually confirming the position of a thing that you need to hit onto. A lot of rhythm games will build on this element and find ways to incorporate visuals that go in time with the music, creating a psychedelic kinesthetic experience composed of sound, sight, and feel. If you're playing to get the best possible score on Rhythm Doctor, then optimally speaking, you'll often be playing like this. Since all of the gameplay hazards and pitfalls in this game are designed to throw you off your rhythm, using visuals as a cue is intentionally going to be hit or miss. Some songs I'll use many visual cues to help keep me steady and in time. Some songs I'll play like this once I feel I've got a lock on the tempo. It sounds annoying to deal with, but it doesn't feel that way. There are maybe 3 songs at most that really ramp up the attempts at distracting you visually. But overall, the game strikes a nice balance of visuals that dazzle, visuals that distract, and visuals that direct. Sometimes all within the same song. Considering this game is still in early access, and also considering the choice of aesthetic, it is nothing short of amazing what the devs can deliver. Playable music videos meticulously crafted to exhibit an incredible amount of charm and color, foregrounding the 20+ songs you can play through in Middle C Hospital. It's a little surprising how Middle C Hospital doesn't often call out to the fire department, because it's just bangers after bangers after bangers here in the hospital ward. For an early access game, there is a good amount of content for you to play through. A sizable mix of songs from SoundCloud, songs from other games, and songs composed by Fizzed, aka, and I'm so sorry but I'm gonna butcher your name, Hafiz Osman, aka one of the developers of Rhythm Doctor. The game's song library features music genres consisting of pop, electro, drums and bass, synthwave, dubstep, lo-fi hip-hop, alternative, indie, etc, etc, etc. There's even a composition that I am certain references the tendency for medical shows to include a musical number or musical-themed episode. The music presented is varied and eclectic, but I will say that it leans towards a soundscape that aims to appeal to people that play these kinds of rhythm games. So even among the lesser used genres, it's still going to have an electronic or pop influence of some kind. There is no song that is purely classical, purely jazz, or purely rock, at least not yet. If you can't seem to find what you're looking for in the base game, then worry not, because Rhythm Doctor boasts an impressively robust custom level scene assisted by the game's powerful built-in level editor. It is astounding what the community can make with the tools given to them. I've only just begun to scratch the surface of the custom level scene, but if this is what we're getting in early access, then I can only imagine what crazy things people will be coming up with on the full release. The soundscape Rhythm Doctor is aiming for may not be for everyone, but what is available sounds solidly mixed, tightly constructed, and is a hell of a lot of fun to play through. If there was a reason anyone would get tired of any particular song, it would be due to the difficulty. Please be a passing grade. No. There is definitely a bit of a learning curve as you get further into the game, and you're especially going to feel it if you're unfamiliar with rhythm games or you don't have a lot of experience with keeping musical time. The difficulty is then intensified more so because each song has its own variation on the primary element you're trying to keep in time with. So it turns into a battle against that particular song's concept and permutation. You'll most likely be able to keep tempo when you're only managing one person's heartbeat, but how well can you do it when you're managing 2? How about 5? This is one of the few times where I would describe the difficulty in a game as exponential. And I feel like this is a consistent feature throughout the rhythm game genre. The game is fine until it isn't. Rhythm Doctor starts in an almost laughably easy manner, but soon after you'll likely be scrambling as they throw more and more and more musical concepts at you rapidly. And then there's the issue of developing mechanical competency in order to execute on those concepts. On the topic of mechanical execution, in my opinion, the nature of the control scheme kind of inflates the difficulty of the game. This isn't a criticism of the game design, but more of an observation on rhythmic perception and rhythmic compulsion. Syncing up to a rhythm is inherently a physical sensation. Listening to rhythmic structures from auditory stimuli activates the motor neurons of our brain, whether we choose to bop to the beat or not. And it is in my opinion that engaging with these compulsions help you remain steady as you attempt to find and lock onto musical time. This game has never felt harder for me personally than when I tried to play it completely still as if I were a drum machine or a click track. Our primary peripheral is the keyboard, which leaves little room for productive motor functions that allow us to sync with the tempo and maintain a level of control to accurately tap or slam the spacebar on beat. Now, of course, you can learn to do this, and there are plenty of people who can full combo a whole song using nothing but the spacebar or some other button-related peripheral. But damn it all, there are far too many bangers in this game for me to play through any portion of it like this. Which is why before I started my playthrough, I had the boys at R&D create this. Inspired by the hit game show Jeopardy, I came up with the idea to use these bad boys for Rhythm Doctor. Constructed using only the finest 3D printer filament and secured together with the strongest adhesives known to mankind, I was able to move and groove to the soundtrack while still maintaining a high level of accuracy to complete a level. Buzzer in hand, we've graduated from metronome to conductor. And let me tell you, the novelty of conducting or dancing with these buzzers has not at all worn out. 4, 1, and 2, 2, 3, and 4, and I still vibe as hard as I did the first time I played this game up till now, and I cannot will myself to play this game with any other peripheral at this point. But even with all of these disadvantages neutralized and self-perceived advantages bestowed to me, this game is still difficult. It's not enough that you can vibe to the music, you unfortunately have to introduce craft and technique, and that is going to take a couple of attempts to get right. But the catharsis experienced once you've overcome the difficulty really makes the time invested worth it. Easy. Easy full combo. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even realize we were on track for a full combo until like halfway through. Fuck yeah. Alright, nice. There isn't really a lot I have to complain about for this game. It's a simple concept that is executed well visually and sonically. Though I'd love to have some quality of life changes here and there. A lot of these songs have cutscenes that I feel you could easily add an option to skip. Distant Duet comes to mind. What I find confusing is that in the boss fight of Act 3, you can skip a similar moment, so I don't understand why a feature like this isn't present on every song that warrants it. I'm kind of nitpicking here, but this game necessitated a lot of restarts, and you naturally get impatient and tense when you're met with the same obstacle over and over again. Another minor criticism I have is that the game doesn't do a good job of informing you of its more customizable options and incorporating said options in a convenient manner. For example, I think it's weird that the visual calibration only operates in quantities of 10, but you can fine-tune that adjustment in a menu that you have to dig through. But then you'd have to go dig yourself out of those menus and back into the calibration screen. So if you're especially anal about getting the calibration perfect, you're going to be bouncing between these two screens for a while trying to get it right. Why can't I just have this level of adjustment naturally from the get-go? I also think it's weird that the difficulty options are once again buried underneath several menus, and not only buried, but also deactivated. You have to confirm to the game that you want more difficulty options. Another weird thing with difficulty is that you can't choose it at the start of the song like you would other rhythm games. I mean, technically you can, you just go through the menus and pick which difficulty you want to play the game on, so logically speaking, you'd set this up sometime during song selection. But I feel like you could easily implement it here in the menus. You can adjust the difficulty mid-session if you really wanted to, so I guess that's one advantage to the way difficulty is currently implemented. It just feels also weirdly inconvenient and roundabout, and I can't tell if that's by design or by limitation. But this lack of transparency is kind of a small blessing. Let me explain. Ever since this game was released in early access, it has seen an explosion in popularity. In all of these videos, do you notice the common denominator between all of them? Everyone is struggling, that much is certain, but everyone is struggling on the base difficulty of the game.
What a beautiful game.
There is not a single person out there, that I've found anyway, that plays Rhythm Doctor on hard mode, except accomplished Omega Chad Osu player Tokaku.
Hey, everybody.
I hypothesize that this wild goose chase are fail-safes implemented by the developers to prevent anyone from playing hard mode. See, on these difficulties, Rhythm Doctor is still a game, and just like that, you've turned it into a simulator. Hard in Rhythm Doctor is hard. It is extremely punishing. It is legitimately shocking how much of a difference there is between normal and hard. We're gonna lose some boss! A dissonance rings out in your head where you are certain you hit it on beat, but your certainty is not in alignment with the reality of the game. All that happens when you change the difficulty is shrink the window afforded you to press on beat. I can't say that I know the intricacies of every difficulty, but I know that on normal you have a window of plus or minus 80 milliseconds for a grand total of 160 millisecond window. On hard, this window is cut in half, giving you a plus or minus 40 millisecond window for a grand total of 80 milliseconds. For reference, professional drummers and percussionists have a deviation of 10 milliseconds on average, and they're managing a lot more than just one button. Now, from here to here, that is a world of difference. That is a professional world of difference. But from here to here, on paper, it theoretically shouldn't actualize into that much of a difference, right? Boy, let me fucking tell you firsthand, yes it does! Do not play this game on hard. It is for masochists. So of course I'm gonna play the game on hard. Playing Rhythm Doctor on hard is tantamount to doing crack. At best, you play it for maybe a song or two, decide that it's not for you, and then go back to the normal difficulty. At worst, you decide that, yes, this hellscape is how I would like to enjoy my consumption of the game, thank you very much. The range of emotions I experienced go from defeated to obsessive to euphoric.
Oh my god, I'm so fucking good!
I am begging that the developers do not change the difficulty of hard mode. Let me say that one more time just in case you misheard. Do not change the difficulty of hard mode. Please keep it as is. I know, weird, right? After all this bitching and moaning and hamming and hawing. But despite the insanity I endured, the hours I invested, and the strands of hair torn out in frustration, I haven't had this much fun with a video game in a long time. I'm hooked! There is no beating the amount of dopamine released when you do well in this game, hard mode or otherwise. That has to be it! That has to be it! That was a perfect tambourine section! The enjoyment of every other game I've reviewed so far was contingent on you circumventing certain difficulties with the game's design in order to enjoy what those games did extremely well. Rhythm Doctor is the first time in a long while where I felt that the vast majority of the game was so tightly executed and well designed that the product delivered was undoubtedly going to be extremely fun and charming. You've got interesting variations of a simple concept that the devs are continuing to refine and evolve. You've got satisfying gameplay accompanying an excellent soundtrack that feed off of each other to create an addictingly fun experience. And finally, you have just the right amount of difficulty, for the most part, to keep you engaged and provide that catharsis once you've overcome the game's obstacles. The biggest criticism of this game that I've seen so far is the lack of content, which is to be expected considering its early access. But I think it speaks volumes that the biggest complaint for Rhythm Doctor is that we want more Rhythm Doctor. I have absolutely no trouble recommending this to anyone, regardless of whether or not you do or don't have a lot of experience with rhythm games. If you're still unsure, then of course wait for a sale, but I'm confident that no matter who you are, you're going to have fun regardless. Yes! Oh my god! Holy cow! I can't believe it! Oh my god, that took so long! Jesus! We had to risk cardiac failure to get him a date, but by damn it, we did it! Jesus Christ! I try not to make videos about games that are in early access if I can help it. I'd like to have everything available for me to dissect and analyze before I go into production. But Rhythm Doctor just had that special something to it that compelled me, and so here we are. It's far shorter than what I'm used to working on, but nothing wrong with a little bit of variety in your playlists. Some quick updates with the channel. Patreon is in full swing and there's already a good amount of content on there, including, but not limited to, in-depth behind-the-scenes updates, cut footage, director's commentary, etc, etc, etc. Be sure to check it out and pledge if you can, I'd really appreciate it. I've sporadically started streaming on Twitch again, but I'm not as consistent as I'd like to be. Which is fine, baby steps and whatnot. I imagine with Rhythm Doctor now out of the way and a lot of other games I'd like to dive into coming on the horizon, I'll be more actively streaming in the near future. Other than that, thank you for watching. I sincerely hope you've all enjoyed the video and I'll see you all next time. Bye!